Well, we are joined now by HuskerOnline's Sean Callahan. Sean, good morning. I go back to Saturday. Nebraska loses 21-17 against Ohio State. Defense was great. I think it further questions what happened against Indiana with 56 points on the board. How do you explain that, Sean, with how well they played this past Saturday defensively?
Well, Jamari Butler up front gave them something they didn't have in Indiana, and then MJ Sherman played at a higher level. So I thought the edge play was outstanding. And the tackling was outstanding for Nebraska. Their assignments were outstanding. To limit Indiana to 1 3rd down conversion. I mean, you don't lose a football game very often when you do that. And the only 3rd down Indiana converted,
Ohio State
Indiana, converted was a 3rd and 1 QB sneak where there was a false start not called on the left tackle. So when you break it down, it's hard to play much better other than the breakdowns. They had the 3 back-end breakdowns where Jeremiah Smith, one of the best receivers, got a free release and scored. And he's going to do that to everybody he plays. But other than that moment or two, you're going to win a lot of football games if you play at the level Nebraska played on Saturday.
Yeah. Here's the question, Sean. This is the big one. How much do you trust Nebraska? Okay, so they lose to Indiana 56-7. They come back and play well against Ohio State and lose. Play well. How much do you trust Nebraska at this point with 4 games left?
I trust the defense, I think, because I don't think they're going to see an offense. USC is going to have a good offense in a couple weeks out there, but they're not going to see an offense like Indiana or even Ohio State probably at that level the rest of the way. I think this defense is going to be a good matchup the next 4 games out. It's the offense that they can find the identity. That's what you still don't trust. Can they run it well enough to win in this league in November? Because they have to have some semblance of balance. Otherwise, teams are just going to tee off on Dylan Raiola. And, that's the receivers just don't get the separation down the field. And the passing game just hasn't been as consistent as you want it. So I think the running game is a big key now down the stretch. What will that look like here for Nebraska?
Do you trust special teams?
I think they took a big step in the right direction. After the first quarter with the Quentin Ives slip on the kickoff return, followed by the first shank punt by Buschini, they overcame that because the defense got the 4th and 1 stop. There were no points Nebraska gave up on that. From that point on, they played lights out. They tackled all the kickoffs inside the 25-yard line. I think one was on the 19, one was on the 21. The 3 for 3 on John Hall, the snapping was good. The punting was fine at that point. So I think that was huge for the special teams group too, just to have a game like that on the road against a team like Ohio State, who has been known for special teams in their history. I thought that was big. John Hall's kick, the 54-yarder into the wind, was impressive to see him step in there and not just get it over the ball. He nailed that thing through into the wind. So you would think that moment is going to give him now a lot of confidence moving forward.
Joined by Sean Callahan. Sean, 38-yard scramble by Dylan Raiola caught us all by surprise, including Marcus Satterfield yesterday. Didn't know he had it in him. As we approach November, and it's yards are hard to get in the cold weather, Nebraska hasn't moved the ball well. Do you expect to see this become more a part of the offense? Not a ton, but more.
Really, cold weather is not going to be as big of a deal. It's going to be warmer on Saturday. They're going to be in LA for a game. I guess the Wisconsin and the Iowa games are the only 2 you think about maybe that could have some cold weather. But the key is if teams are going to play the way they have played on Dylan, where they're not putting anybody on him. In Ohio State, they said was playing, a single high safety, kind of a man-free look where nobody was accounting for the quarterback. He took the free yards and just ran upfield. That's what he's got to do. These aren't Adrian Martinez quarterback draw plays you're calling here. These are passing plays where everybody's got a man on them and no one's accounting for the quarterback. Just take the free yards. I go back to a game years ago, Garrett Gilbert, the Texas quarterback. That's how Bo Pelini played him because he wasn't a runner. And Garrett Gilbert ran for the first time, and that was an X factor when Texas upset Nebraska in that game at Memorial Stadium back in 2010. I don't see if you might remember those runs. I mean, that's kind of what Dillon did on Saturday. I mean, they weren't accounting for him with the way they were defending the receivers, and Dillon just ran upfield and took the free yards. I thought that kind of changed things for Nebraska's offense, having that semblance of a run with Dylan Raiola in there.
Sean, okay, again, November, 4 games left. Pretty big games, all of them, for obvious reasons. Who are some players that could step up that maybe we haven't seen a lot from this season? Is there anybody that comes to mind that you would think that they need maybe to step up? I mean, that's
a hard question just to be put on the spot because we kind of know who the players are.
I'm challenging you, Sean. I'm challenging you.
Well, Tommy Hill, you'd like for him to maybe come out of, be available and be a guy again, but you just don't have a good feel on that because he's tried it now twice and hasn't worked. But
I would say, Sean, somebody asked me
who
this.
do you want me to say, Sip? I feel like that's what you set me up for there.
Yeah, I was asked the same question on a show yesterday, and my immediate response was Nayor or Banks or pick a running back. Nayor or Banks or pick a running back.
Those receivers on the perimeter have to give more production. I mean, then if they can give them more production, then Ja'Cory Barney might actually be able to run free more often.
Mm-hmm.
Ja'Cory Barney's been targeted 20 times, and he has 15 catches in the last 2 weeks, but very few of them have been, catches of length. He did convert, I believe, 4 first downs at Ohio State on Saturday with his catches, but everything he gets is usually like a 4 to 8 yard play. So I think if those guys on the edge get going, that actually could help Ja'Cory Barney.
Yeah, it would help a lot. It would help a lot. And if one of the running backs gets going, I don't even know. It could be any of the 3, actually. It seemed like they got Dowdell going in the third quarter. I'd like to see that carry over.
It's so unpredictable with that group right now.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you want to say so-and-so is taking this thing over, but you can't. I mean, you think it's Emmett, you think it's Ramir, you think it's Dowdell. It kind of changes every time they get out there.
It does.
Sean, always good stuff. Thanks for the time. We'll chat with you again next week.
Okay, thanks, guys.
HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan.